Clerk Moore.
Okay, so we can call the meeting to order. Okay, so we'll call
Ms. Hall isn't here?
the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting to order.
All right, Ms. Hull had contacted the clerk's office saying that she would not be here today, and Mr. Childs contacted me directly to say he had a complication and would not be here. Adams,
Present.
Kennard,
Present.
Clark, Hudson,
Here.
Edwards,
Present.
Warren.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, the first thing up on our agenda is to review our minutes from March 23rd. Pages 2 through 4.
I make the motion to approve of the minutes.
Support.
Okay, motion carried.
Kennard,
Yes.
Hudson,
They like it, I like
You weren't here.
it. I like it, I like it.
Edwards,
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
I don't think I missed anyone. Adams, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up, we have communications, and the first thing on our list is the resignation of our board member.
Motion to approve.
Supported.
Motion by Adams, supported by Edwards.
Question?
Oh,
Explain the motion.
Oh, yes, you're
I'm
right.
sorry, I forgot.
Yes, so we're gonna just back up. So I don't even know if you were here when Mr. Davis Yates joined. I don't think you were. But we had a new member, and I think he was on the committee for, what everyone say, about 3 months. And then the meeting in March, he verbally, well, I wouldn't say it was a verbal altercation, then he sent an email resigning.
And so this motion is to accept his resignation?
Yes.
Oh, in that case, sure. He's submitting.
So we had
Clear. All the questions.
Commissioner Adams, and then second by,
Supported.
supported by Commissioner Edwards.
Kennard,
Yes.
Hudson,
Accept? Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Adams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up, we have public comments. Do you have any public comments?
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Fourth Ward Commissioner Ethel Clark Griffin. And I just got a statement. We already voted to commit the commissioner level to accept Mr. Michael Yates' resignation, so it's already done.
Okay.
I
so-
can't figure out why I was on this.
Yeah.
Commissioner, did the commission take any action with respect to any other replacements?
That would probably be something for you your board to do, because you guys
No.
have the boots on your.
Ordinarily, it comes from the mayor first.
No,
And it goes to the clerk and she passes on.
it comes from just
our application.
recommendations that come into the clerk's
Yeah.
office and she forwards them to the legislative committee.
And nothing has been brought to us about nobody putting in an application yet.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We're always asking people to join committees and authorities. boards.
So we have my point is we have a vacancy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, were there any public comments? No? Okay. Moving on to committee reports. The first thing on our agenda is our technical advisor's contract. Mr. Florian, do you want to read this piece?
Sure, just as an intro, recall that my contract is up on June 30th. And in the interest of finding a replacement, a couple of months back, a committee was formed to develop a request for proposals and qualifications. And that committee was charged with then submitting that, placing it on the city's website, and then inviting a number of qualified consulting firms from around the area and from around the state to respond to this request. The time period expired for those responses. They were received at last month's meeting, and only 2 responses came in. I believe a copy of those 2 responses might be circulating across the board's desk right now.
I have it here.
The committee comprised of myself, comprised of Satana Warren, and also Alex Little. Mr. Davis Yates was originally on that committee, but because of his resignation, he did not participate in the review. That committee met a little over 3 weeks ago, I think, 2 weeks ago. And the recommendations of that committee, along with its findings, are included on page 5 of your packets. And I think that would be the intro. I'll turn it back over to Madam Chair.
So as Mr. Florian advised, we met and we reviewed, I'll just give you a little bit of our thought process. So we felt like by reading the two submits, one was not qualified, they didn't have any Brownfield experience. And the other one was qualified, but they were out of Kalamazoo. So we thought about another option, and that is what we're gonna present to you today for you to vote on. I'll go ahead and jump right in. So Mr. Florian will accept a 2-year contract extension at his currently hourly rate with no renewal option. Satana Warren, which is myself, would serve under Mr. Florian as an understudy. I would strive to assume his administrative role at the end of a 12-month period with compensation to be determined at that time. So this would be for me volunteering my time for 1 year to learn the ins and outs of Act 381, Brownfield, and also our history. Once again, that 12 months is over with, we would discuss compensation at that time. Mr. Florian would then continue to act as technical support for myself on an as-needed basis. As part of the contract extension for Mr. Florian, one thing we would be adding would be paying his annual professional liability policy premiums at $1,550 per year. Myself and Mr. Little thought that was reasonable. Additionally, the authority will move its regular scheduled meeting to 3:30 p.m. on the second Thursday of every month, beginning in July. So that will give everybody time to make any necessary adjustments. Okay, so there's a couple other things, and again, I'm just kind of reading this. You guys have it in a hard copy in front of you. We would enforce removal of board members for neglect of duty as defined in our bylaws. So this is already in our bylaws, but we have not been enforcing what's in our bylaws. So that only makes sense. Discontinue the hard copy delivery of agenda packets to board members, with hard copies of agenda packets required of board members or guests to be provided by city staff and made available for pickup and distro at City Hall. Does everyone understand what that's saying? Because apparently right now, agenda packets are being delivered to board members, okay?
Some board members.
Some board members.
Don't
So, okay.
include me in that.
Yep, some board members, okay?
Who's
Next.
delivering? Who's delivering?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Why is that a procedure that?
it's something that was happening, and so with the future contract, basically Mark is not gonna be able to do that based on his time commitments. So what we're saying is, we will have him available, but you just have to come to City Hall and pick him up, okay?
Including Ms. Hall?
Everyone,
Okay.
yes. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. Commit to filling any board vacancy with at least one member of the City Planning Commission or Downtown Development Authority board, which I also think is a pretty good idea.
What was that again? I missed that.
So it's number 3, it's toward the very bottom of page 5.
Mhm.
Commit to filling any board vacancy with at least one member of our City Planning Commission or our Downtown Development Authority board.
So that could be 2. I'm on the DDA.
You're on the DD, okay. Go ahead.
Now, our board is made up of
It's an authority.
as an authority. How does this sit with the legal tenets of our board? Because, I mean, if you're identifying certain individuals to here, is that anywhere in the regs or the statute?
But to be,
So I don't think any,
Someone from the city planning commission is on every Brownfield board?
They don't have to be.
Board?
It's not in the
Someone from the
bylaws.
Downtown Development Authority is on the board of every Brownfield authority?
so two things here. The first thing is, I want to remind everybody that this is a suggestion, this is
Right,
not
right,
finalized.
right.
So that's step one.
Right,
Step two is, it's a recommendation based on what our committee is. I mean, it may not necessarily make any
this
sense
is
for
the
someone,
authority, that's the
for-
difference.
for
An
someone
authority
to,
and not a committee, and we need to be clear about that.
okay. And so as I was saying, if we could have order, it may not make sense for that request to be in other committees, but for this particular authority, for what we do, it does make sense to have someone with that area of expertise and they know what's going on with city planning. So again, this is a suggestion. This is not saying this rule has already been put into place. And then what I want to also do is I brought some of my resumes and I brought a cover sheet in case anyone was wondering about my background. And if I can, super quick, I'll just share with you all a little bit about myself, since I am asking you to vote for me to serve.
no,
I am asking you to vote for me to serve in another role in our community here and work with Mr. Florian. So if you are so interested, I will give you a copy, but everyone knows I'm Satana Warren. I'm currently treasurer. I've enjoyed being a member of the Brownfield for the past couple of years. Time has really flown by. I've learned a lot and I look forward to learning more at each meeting. In addition to serving on the Brownfield board, many of you know I serve on the legislative committee. I grew up in the city of Benton Harbor and I have a passion for helping the community. After reviewing the applicants that applied to fill Mark's role, I believe this is the best solution for Mark to train me, as we mentioned earlier, and for me to transition into the role after a year. I hold an MBA with a finance focus from Franklin University. My undergrad degree is in supply chain management from Michigan State University. I am a resident and again, a current board member. Based on my qualifications and my proven track record for serving the city of Benton Harbor, I feel that I'm the best choice for this role, and that will be it. If you guys have any questions, yes. Would anyone else like a copy of my credentials and resume? Thank you. I'm sorry, Miss Commissioner Adams, please.
When will we have an opportunity to meet our attorney? Or do we need to put out a job search for that position as well? I've just become confused about a lot of things in the past 10 minutes.
Oh, Mr. Florian.
With respect to the question of attorney, your attorney, is that what you're asking for? You have an attorney, you have retained the services of Barnes and Thornburg, more specifically Scott Denis has been your attorney for the past several years. However, he only participates when you invite him to participate in an issue.
Okay,
And that's in the interest of keeping your costs down.
okay, I really appreciate that. I would really, even if there was only one person in a job search that we sent out, we actually requested if it could run longer with the hopes that we could receive more. But if there was only one, I would really like to interview that person. That's up to them to travel from Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, or whatever. It's only a month, one meeting a month, and we have technology that works today, and COVID taught us that. But if there's somebody disqualified, because I've met some terrific people along the way since I've been an authority member, and I didn't even know that professional Brownfield Authority Board attorneys actually exist that function only for Brownfield Authority. But
So to
deal out.
recap, you're saying, number one, you didn't know we have an attorney, so we.
No, I did not. I know that we have one, we just never been, have you ever met him? Yourself?
No, it
Okay.
sounds like we have to invite them.
Exactly, and I've asked that in the past, but I guess if we gotta pay him every time you show up. But this would have been one time, I guess that, I don't know.
And then the other point you're making is you would prefer to have the, request for quote run longer. What was your specified time?
30 days at least for a job search,
And then
For
Mr.
Brownfield
Floria, can
Authority,
you remind
for
us
a
how long
Brownfield Authority
did it,
Board
did
consultant.
it run?
It ran for over 30 days.
Okay, so that's settled. And then.
So can we set an interview for the one that you found to be qualified? How many, 9?
If you're,
Someone say something?
if you're asking, are you asking me or are you asking the chair?
I was basically making a
I don't know what
suggestion.
the proper response would be, but I would not object to that. If that's what the.
I mean, I thought that that's what the search was
authority-
about.
If that's what the authority wanted to do,
That'd make a
I would,
motion.
I don't know. I feel like one of the things we have to think about is exactly how this meeting is being ran. We have to have someone that's going to be able to, I want to be politically correct when I speak. We think about how our meetings are. People are talking out of turn. We need someone that's going to come in here and be able to understand how we currently do business. The last thing I would want us to do is to, have someone who they're used to things running like a well-oiled machine, and they come in here and Mark trains them, and then they quit. We're in a worse position than we're currently in. Now that's just, again, my personal opinion, and I felt free to speak that, but that was one of the reasons why I strongly suggested that someone like myself, who is used to coming to these meetings, who is very qualified to learn, do the role. But again, this is a democracy and we're gonna vote on it. So if everyone would prefer to interview the Kalamazoo company, I would not object to that. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Personally, from all the meetings that we go through, especially at here when we have a full commission, for the years I've been here, been listening. When are we going to take control of our own? When are we going to interview our own? When are we going to hire our own? So now we get a chance, and when are we going to train our own? Now we get this opportunity to do it. The RFQ has been out past 30 days, probably close to 60. So to have someone here that we all know, I don't know how much, I can't measure how much we all trust her, because I only know her from this meeting. Outside of this, I don't know. Looking at her from a professional standpoint, I see nothing wrong there. Qualifications, I can't dispute them because I can just go by qualification. She know more about it than I do. Age makes a big difference. It ain't me. Why not? She's our own. Do we have anybody else outside of Kalamazoo? That's all I got to say. I would vote for her.
Mr. Little.
Yes, members of the committee, I'd like to speak on behalf of the city. I read through the two proposals. One of them, we'd be basically trying to train somebody who probably isn't much more advanced than what our chairman would be. The other one, I think we have to also look at availability. Do we really want to get in a position where every time we want to have a meeting or raise a question or have some follow up on that, we've got to pay mileage for somebody to drive all the way from Kalamazoo or Grand Rapids or something to do it and that type of thing? Frankly, I didn't have any hesitancy at all about making the recommendation that we did. I think we win all all the way around. We would have the services of a person that we know is knowledgeable, capable, and experienced, Mr. Florian, during the period, and at the same time working with one of us, as the commissioner said, somebody local who's willing to learn, and I'm satisfied is capable of learning to go ahead and proceed with doing this.
I'm looking at this to fill a basement with downtown development or city planning. Who came up with that idea?
I recommended that to the other members of the committee, and they agreed that it was a good idea. And let me give you some context. It's important for this authority to work hand in glove with other arms of the city in planning and economic development initiatives. So the more we can disperse members, not have all the same boards by any means, but have some cross connection. We have a member of the DDA here. We don't have any member of the Planning Commission here. And they don't have any member of this authority on the Planning Commission either, which they
So
Perhaps
no
should.
cross change.
And I certainly would have made the same recommendation, because we do need that.
Yeah, there's something fishy about that.
No,
I'm proud to have it be fishy. We need that.
I want to talk to you, sir.
Point of order,
We
I'll
need
talk to
that.
my
point of
board.
order.
You should be on the subcommittee.
Let's, if you wouldn't mind just elaborating a little bit more on what so we can at least have an understanding of what you mean.
How long Brownfield been in position here?
1996.
So all of a sudden, we decide to add a member of downtown or city planning. So anyone talk to anyone on these board about this? To the other
doesn't
board?
matter.
No,
I have talked to him about it before,
Really?
long before now.
Really?
Madam Chair.
Okay, so Mr. Commissioner Edwards.
As far as the downtown, the DDA, I was on the DDA before I became a commissioner. The only board
Point
that
of
I
order,
got,
this isn't about the DDA.
he's asking a question about the DDA, correct?
This gentleman been waiting.
Okay, so if we can let Mr. Edwards finish, and then I apologize, I didn't see your hand. Are you finished, Mr. Edwards?
Yeah, I've been on the DDA before I was a commissioner, so when I became a commissioner, the only board I had to relinquish was the cemetery. So therefore, yes, this fits, so it was automatic.
Okay.
First question. I think this complete discussion here surrounds us replacing our facilitator. from our
There
floor.
you go. They chose.
That's basically where we're at. And I've heard somebody say a couple times, Kalamazoo, this firm has put a Benton Harbor address on a portfolio to us. If that's not their address, then we shouldn't be talking to them at all, because they should be giving us correct information. So everybody saying that. Oh, okay, well, I'm just saying, I'm saying two things, but I'm hearing people say something different. Number two, and this is for you, Mr. Florida. How long have you been facilitator for this Brownfield committee?
a long time, Mr. Hudson. I believe it was specifically 2000 or 2002.
Okay. When you started in 2002, how much experience did you bring from previous Brownfield engagements?
Extensive.
Okay? In your experience and having come here from a Brownfield position, how would you determine the level that we need to see? And for two reasons. As these get reviewed, that should be the backdrop.
Mhm.
Number two, we should have a schedule as to where Ms. Santana should be if we're already saying, I think, 12 months or what have you. Is that gonna do it? I mean, I'm for anything that leaves us in the best position to operate, bring city property back on the tax roll. Anything that we engage in, subordinate to that, I want to be careful of. As a matter of fact, that's the reason I asked the question about reconfiguring the Brownfield Authority Board. I think that any one of these individuals from city planning or downtown development authority, that door is open. They can come in and address as necessary. They don't have to have a voting seat,
Exactly.
which is what you're saying here. So that should have some consideration from the standpoint of redefining the configuration of this board. So those are my concerns, but if this body's happy with it, I don't have a problem. Then I've got a couple more specific questions after we move on.
Okay, Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for touching base on that, but this whole thing seems like for some reason has gotten off track from the track that we were on in seeking another consultant on our consultant since 2002. I've been here ever since, and I appreciate and thank you, Mark. I've learned a lot. And I think that anybody that shadows you or step on your heels following you would learn a great deal because you are very knowledgeable. But here we are, and Mr. Florian has twice handed us his resignation. How are we trying to make somebody stay? We've been here along the way since 2002 of trying to get someone trained. And by no means I feel sorry and bad for somebody that may take this personal, because it's not. This is business, and it's Brownfield Authority Board business, and we've been trying to get someone trained working under Mr. Florian for quite some time. And maybe that wasn't the time, but maybe the time is now. And it doesn't have to be this way. There are funds coming down the pipeline to actually have someone trained from the federal government standpoint. This is the type of stuff that I'm hearing that brings about chaos. Things that were discussed beyond this board that should have been board decisions that came to this board, that the board as a whole. I mean,
Thank you.
it may be just a recommendation, but still, it's the type of thing that brings about chaos. When it seems like board members have been left out of decisions coming forth, period.
Okay, so thank you.
And I'm not interested in, I'm done.
I want to make sure we address your concerns. So the first thing is.
No, I'm done.
Absolutely correct. Someone mentioned that this is a recommendation. This is not, we didn't come in here saying that this is the new procedure. So that's the first thing to remember, that this is a recommendation. The second thing to remember, that no rules were broken. Everything was out in the open. There was we were in our meeting and it was asked who wanted to be on this committee. It wasn't a secret meeting. It was in this meeting. And I know we can go back and review the recording if you so want to do that. And I volunteered, Mr. Davis Yates volunteered, Mr. Little volunteered. Anybody could have volunteered. Anybody on this board could have volunteered to be a part of that. So I want to make sure when we're speaking the facts, and we're letting the facts be known, because if you didn't volunteer, that is why you were not in on this suggestion.
This is what I'm talking about.
But see like I want to make sure we're clear, because we need to use facts. That's all I'm asking. And the facts are, we had a committee, everyone volunteered, that's a fact. Another fact is, this is a recommendation. This is not something that is set in stone. Every procedure was followed.
Madam Chair, can Mark give us another fact of something that he stated at the last meeting that you missed?
Let me,
Because he invited me to come to that meeting, and I never heard anything.
So I want to go and use our point of order and have Mr. Little speak, because he's been waiting.
If I might, as the Economic Development Director, I've got a responsibility for trying to pull all of this together and make it work. Keep in mind, the basic objective is the redevelopment and advancement of the city of Benton Harbor. Not any specific individual, not any specific group. And as far as where this should be trying to go, I think I've been around probably as long as anybody on this. created the Downtown Development Authority back in the 80s and the Tax Increment Finance District. And from the beginning, the idea was to interweave these entities so that they cooperate with each other and with the city, and the goal that we had for trying to redevelop the city. So it isn't about doing anything different. In my estimation, as I listened to this, you are gaining the best of what was available by far. One, Mr. Florian's agreed that he would stay with us and work with Ms. Warren during this period to bring her along. I understand that the primary function is learning and understanding the act that creates Brownfield Authority and what's possible under it, and then understanding how to apply it and so forth. Secondly, how to operate in concert with you all and get the most accomplished. Now, as we're trying to move forward, increasingly, there's a need for Downtown Development Authority, regardless of how the communication takes place. Right now, I'm the primary link between them all. And whatever other operations that we put in place. So as I listened at the options that were available, it was a no-brainer. If Ms. Warren takes a year to really come along on this, Mr. Florian has agreed he would even be available for a second year to help with that transition and implementation. We can't win any better than that. We've got projects that are moving along all over the place right now, some of which you may not be fully aware of. Everything from EV stations to pursuing broadband and fiber optics, housing. We attended a meeting last week in Michigan and several others. There's, I think Mr. Florian mentioned before, a change in the legislation that's underway that would enable Brownfield to participate in housing development. That is going to be critical to us in our plans for where we want to try to go. So that's my reason. It has nothing to do with anything other than the ultimate objective of the redevelopment and advancement of the city of Benton Harbor. And I think this is the best solution available to us to do that.
Thank you. Oh, Ms. Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Little. That was a lot. I guess I'm just at a loss because I've been working tirelessly, not just for years, but even more so harder the last few months, knowing that funding was coming down the pipeline for training for such positions as this. And we're trying to get it in our schools. Actually, that's the plan, and we're working on that. And I love young, brilliant minds that can possibly train other young, brilliant minds. Yet we are talking about training, and we're talking about shadowing Mark. But you two are the only ones that have heard from Mark, and yet Mark at our last meeting that our chairperson here was not privy of being here when Mark invited me to actually, because I was asking about these applications, knowing that we were looking for a consultant upon his resignation to retire. And we still yet have to hear from Mark ourselves. Everybody else is talking for Mark that have heard from, Mark in the meeting. So I think that it's time we let Mark talk. So Mark can tell us about Mark.
And Mr. Florian, if you will.
Mark would like to retire. That mantra has not changed for a long time. Since Mr. Hudson was last here, Mark was saying that.
Year and a half.
I was extremely disappointed with the the lack of responses. I had personally contacted firms locally and firms within an hour's drive, inviting them and providing them with the request, and then made sure that everyone was aware that it was posted on the city's website. I fully expected we were going to receive more responses. I had a number of those individuals, those representing those firms, contact me directly in the waning hours of this thing when they were close to being due, to say they weren't going to respond. And as I explained to the other committee members, a lot of excuses were given. The lack of capacity, claiming that they had too much work already. In some cases, they claimed that they didn't have the technical acumen or the expertise necessary, they thought, to represent this authority. And I'll be very candid here and say that, reading between the lines, I was concerned at some of those responses, that was just the polite way out.
Okay.
That the truth was more along the lines of they didn't want the extra headache.
Okay.
And I say that with the most respect, but it is when a consulting firm or an attorney has an opportunity to represent a client, and they have two different clients to choose from, are they going to choose the one that causes them to sit up all night and pull their hair out and sit in meetings and listen to a lot of the things that they shouldn't have to listen to? Or are they going to go the well-oiled machine route? And I think, unfortunately, in this case, most of them are choosing to go the well-oiled machine route. That's my personal opinion based on my knowledge of who we contacted and the individuals that contacted me back. I would hate to see this authority enter into a contract with the only qualified respondent and have this respondent come into this authority, accept the position, and then after 6 months decide that, you know what, this isn't for me or us,
That's life.
and they leave. I understand.
It is.
But
It is.
when that happens, I'm getting to the question of chaos.
Yeah.
That happens, then what do you have? I'm gone. I'm in the woods somewhere. These people are back up in Kalamazoo. And sure, we'll put out another RFP and hopefully somebody else will respond and we can muddle our way through it. But I don't know that that's the best solution for the city of Benton Harbor.
Okay, so if I may, Madam Chair, with that being said, there was a local whose application is not amongst these that works with some people at Andrews University that this authority has given $75,000 to do some work. These are experienced people that I don't think that neither one of these are the application. And I heard one of my colleagues mention something about patronizing our own. When will we hire our own? Well, this happened to have been one. And I want to know where the application is.
So, Commissioner, you're saying that they submitted an
Yes.
application?
Yes.
What was the
Let
question?
them follow up on that.
What is,
Yeah.
what is their firm's name?
No, I'm just curious because I wanted to read the qualifications, which was why I
Commissioner,
was curious
What is
as to, excuse me, ma'am, as to, I wanted to see all of what came in.
what is the name of that firm? So-
I think it was Ogden Environmental or something, I don't remember.
Well, let me just
They
jump
should be the
in,
ones
Madam
coming
Chair,
in
and say, with
not
no,
us.
unequivocally, there were 2 responses, and you
Okay.
have them in front of you
Okay,
right now.
okay, Okay,
Nobody else responded.
okay, all right. And for all I know, this may be one of them. I don't know.
We'll let them come and say,
Exactly,
we should not be
exactly.
discussing that.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards.
Again, she's ours. I like to keep it simple. We go through this almost every commission meeting. I don't even see the problem. It's don't see a problem. Do we have anybody here that could take Mark's place right now without training? Step right in. No, nobody applied.
But Commissioner
So,
Edwards,
I mean,
did
that's
you
me.
hear what you just said, and did you hear what he said?
I just heard what you said.
You said something about the existing operations in the city chambers. That's why he said that people don't want the chaos.
Exactly,
So
I know that.
That's an indictment, actually.
I don't wanna go there because I'm wrong, and that's exactly why they don't. But
So why don't we identify what
Point,
we can pass on these
excuse me, sir.
recommendations and then move on?
So that is why we still looking for different positions, and I'm through with it, but if it comes to a vote, that'd be my reason for voting yes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Edwards. Mr. Little?
I'd just like to echo what the gentleman said. I think we need to move forward with what we have. Because very honestly, I'm in the exact same position that Mark's in. I'm ready to retire. I've done it 4 times. But
No, you ain't.
I don't have anybody ready to come behind and pick up and
Ready.
do it. And just exactly as you said, I know, I've been a year and a half trying to fill a position in my section. There's a certain amount of ability you've gotta have to be able to come in and pick up. You can't just pick up somebody out of high school and have them shadow Mark or shadow me and think that a year from now you got something that's gonna work. It doesn't work like that. You've gotta have a certain level of skill and preparation and ability to learn and go forward with it.
Thanks,
Well,
Mr.
can we,
Little.
This committee has put in work and brought us a set of recommendations, which I assume that they were prepared for us to act on. So I would like to,
I'd like to
Or
ask
just,
one more question before you make a motion. If I may.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark, I didn't hear you agree to 2 years. Mark, to
Mr.
agree to 2
Florian.
years?
Commissioner
he
Adams,
can leave any
yes.
day that he wants.
I see this as being with a 12-month tutorial period for myself and Satana to work closely. My goal would be to, at the conclusion of that 12-month period, have her fully capable of handling all of the administrative functions of this authority and responding to your
Wait a
questions
minute,
with
say that again?
the administrative functions of this authority with respect to running the meetings, with respect to taking care of the minutes, with respect to filing the MEDC reports that are due annually and calculating the tax increment disbursements that occur twice per year.
Okay.
Those things I can help her learn.
Okay, and I'm sure. you can.
What I can't do, where there will still be a gap that you've had the benefit of over this period of time, is I can't teach her the science behind going out and investigating sites of contamination.
Right.
Those skill sets you can buy.
Yeah.
And all she needs to do in those instances is give you the proposals from those local entities.
And this is true. This is true. So,
I hope that answers your question.
Can I call for question?
you know.
We
he's
have one more
making the most-
comment.
Well, I
Yeah,
wanted to finish. I yielded to allow her.
if you
Can
would.
we identify items here that we can move forward with? And if there's something that we can't move forward with, then we know what to table or try to handle in the most expedient manner.
I think it should be
that it
tabled.
would behoove in this body to respect the work done by that committee.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And take some action.
Okay, thank you. So we have everything page 5 numbered. So it'll be really easy to kind of go through what everyone feels comfortable voting on. We definitely not gonna take up any more time talking about people who did not even submit. So, the first thing is, Mr. Florian has agreed to accept a 2-year contract extension at his currently hourly rate, no renewal option.
I make a motion on item number 1.
Should we accept or we?
Should we do a couple? Do we want to do
But we
more?
can do it all together, or we can go item by item. If nobody asks for separation, we can do it all at once.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do 1 through 4 together. Does anyone have any objection to that?
Okay, so we're talking about moving the meeting from 3 to 3:30 from 4, why we just can't keep it as is?
It
And the
was,
4:30?
it was to fit into, a better fit into Mark's schedule. Is that a problem for you, for work or?
Yes.
Can't possibly be,
Yes.
you know, it's 4 ahead.
Mr. Clark, I made that request specifically. Once again, I'd rather be in the woods, and I'm trying to align my work schedule with my extracurricular as well. And that would be a better fit for me personally, as opposed to being the fourth Thursday of the month. The 3:30 or 4 o'clock, that makes no difference to me, but it's the second Thursday is the important part.
Yeah, I should do that 4.
4? I'm okay with that. Is everyone okay with 4 p.m.?
I would be okay with leaving it at 4, and the second Thursday would be fine. Any Thursday, I guess, would be fine.
Okay, great,
But that's just me. Anybody else?
okay.
I have a question though about, Mark, do you pay your own liability right now?
Yes,
So why are we, well, I guess.
2 reasons.
We want you.
Yes.
No, you want to retire.
Yes.
I'm voting for you to retire.
But why, when we don't
So-
have anyone?
So, if I died right now, I'm replaceable. If any of us did, we're replaceable.
Thank you.
So I live in reality of life going on after death and divorce, and retirement. So I guess we're taking on another, I'm waiting so bad. I've been waiting for 20-something years now for us to make it to $1 million mark, where we can do some type of development up in the neighborhood of Benton Harbor. Now, finally, we have an economic development person willing to work with some housing as the Brownfield Authority Board can do the infrastructure. And it's this close to happening. But we'll never get there if everybody is taking a chunk. And I hate to take from you, Mark, 'cause you've just been so.
So I'm gonna chime in here, because I want to make sure we're conscious of staying on the agenda.
We are,
One
we're
of
talking
the-
about
one of the things-
liability.
One of the things that I want to say is that when you work with someone, as long as Mark has worked with us, you build a relationship. And at this point, we need Mark. We don't have anyone. So I don't know what the logic would be with pushing him to retirement when we clearly need his help right now. Well, he has said he would come back and help us. We're thankful and we're grateful to the help, and we need the help. I'm at a loss of words because I don't understand what's going on. When someone is willing to change their mind and help you, why would we debate a favor?
If somebody
Sorry,
wants to
I'm
retire,
He's
why
billing
don't
us
y'all
at the
talk
same
about
rate.
it?
Well, he did not retire. He's helping
Oh,
to
I'm
train.
saying, there's no favor. Favor
Okay.
is free, so.
He didn't-
No
okay.
favor.
In my opinion, he did not retire, he's
Oh,
helping
okay.
us. We need the knowledge and the expertise.
We are all-
There was a situation at legislative meeting, I wanna bring this up with Ms. Kennard. She had questions, you never, and Ms. Kennard. Now, it took me a while to even understand what Ms. Kennard was saying, but Mark, because he had that history, he could have answered you in like 2 seconds. So that is something that's important, having that history and having that level of expertise. So I don't know who had their hand up first. Okay.
I see here, number one, a 2-year contract, which is 24 months. And, Mr. Florin is going to have you as an understudy for 12 months. Where's the variance?
So the variance is going to be as needed. So we feel like 12
With
months,
That answers it? That answers it?
it's no compensation for me. I want to make sure you're clear. I'm doing the favor because I am doing this volunteer.
Excuse me, excuse me. I didn't ask you to volunteer, so.
I'm talking about Miss Adams.
I just saw here, it said,
I'm reading
accepts
here.
a 2-year extension,
Yes.
okay, at the current hourly rate. Now you're telling me that it's only 12-month extension.
No, that's not what we're saying.
Well, I
So
see 2 different time frames here.
if you allow me to try to clarify. So he's accepting a 2-year extension. You got that part in number one. So the goal is, point number 2 is an unknown. So the goal is for me to be up and running in 12 months, right? The unknown is how much we were gonna need Mark after that. So he's agreed to 2 years. Does that make sense? He's agreed to it. After the 12-month period, the goal is for me to be up and running. But again, that's an
And his
unknown.
compensation stopped.
As of now, that's an unknown, because we don't know if it's gonna truly be a 12-month period. Are you asking that if I'm just say, I'm an expert, I know everything like the back of my hand with Mark? Are you saying with Mark, say, okay?
You're gonna keep him around for 2 years, but your understudy is 12 months. I think I understand you to say that he will be on an as needed when you have to consult with him for an additional 12 months.
And it has on here required technical support.
So,
The contracted as well, we need that.
okay, so that would be costing us more?
Can I please say something?
Yes, Mr. Little.
2 things. One, Takata's supposed to be meeting with you fairly shortly. Secondly, I would really like to recommend to the board, if you would consider it, to go ahead and move forward on this. And I recommend paying the $1,550 amount. If in that second year we run short of things to do, no problem. I have a $20 million project down there, and I need all the help I can get.
Is that acceptable?
No, to just run through this without us
No,
understanding?
No,
it?
Ms. Adams, I
Okay.
was talking about what Mr.
Okay,
Little
but
said
that's what
about,
he was just
he
saying.
had a second, if we have any open, if anyone has open time, he has a project.
Is he paying or are we paying?
Well, if he has an open
We are
project, he would be
The
paying.
city would be
The
paying.
city would be paying.
Yeah. He only gets paid by the hours he puts in.
Well, you know where the money
So
is.
we're separating the items, can I make a motion if there's no items to be separated?
But there are.
Okay, we haven't decided which one they are yet.
I think it
That's
should
why
be
we should
number
table it.
3 of part 2 here.
Number 3
Because
should
board
be,
vacancies, as this committee has decided, should represent the configuration of the board.
I support that.
So we were only talking about 1 through 4 for now.
Okay, but he's
Remove
saying
it.
all,
Remove it,
so that's why we're saying I have a problem with all.
remove it. Okay.
1 through 4?
So let's start with 1. Can we go ahead and start with 1 through 4? And I'm sorry, Commissioner, if you want to make your motion.
I make a motion, on item number 1 be passed.
1 through 4.
Oh, on all 4.
Just those.
Oh, okay, so you want me to go, okay, I would vote yes for number 1, yes for number 2, 3, and 4.
Do we have a second for that motion? For items number 1 through 4 only, on page 5.
Is that with a correction of 4 o'clock as the meeting
Yes.
time? And we got-
With the correction of 4 was the second Thursday of every month, beginning
So
July
So
2023.
I'll second. Let's keep
Okay.
moving.
So call for the question.
Well, there should be some questions first.
Exactly.
After all that,
I need
after all
clarity
that-
on number 2. I need clarity on number 2, reading Santana Warren has agreed to serve as Florian's understudy to strive to assume his administrative role at the end of 12 months with compensation to be determined at that time. Okay, is that compensation for Ms. Warren? As opposed to us paying you, and she would need you just in case but, okay, for those environmental things or whatever. But not the same pay that your pay would be lessened by then, after the 12 months.
The thought is he worked less hours.
Yeah.
Okay,
Work. And be available, but only work when needed.
okay, so I'm trying to figure out how that would work, because this board would have to determine to meet, to give consensus upon those hours.
So Commissioner, I want to make sure I'm clear. You're saying, for an example, I'm doing the role in 13 months, and there's a question that I can't answer, or there's an issue that I need to ask Mark about that might take an hour. You're saying that you would want the board to approve that 1 hour. Is that what I'm understanding?
You may need Mark to do something that consists of 5 to 8 hours.
Well, it's a different example, but it's the same
It
concept.
is, but
So could we do a
We-
we could do a threshold, couldn't we say, well, if it's 1 hour a month, or, again, this is an example. It would be okay
how
if
about
it
we
was
just,
15.
how about we just fix that when we get ready to cross that bridge in 12 months? Like
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, cause
Commissioner.
I mean,
I think the key thing to this is any required, which means there might be some state ordinances or whatever come through. And we know, sitting up here, that could be tomorrow. We can go to sleep and wake up tomorrow and the whole thing done changed. So that's what I'm looking at, required.
But the way this reads, his fees are already locked in for 2 years.
right, right.
Only thing we're talking about is
Less hours.
undeterminable amount for Ms. Santana. His fees are already locked in, it says right here,
Right.
2-year extension. So that's the only thing if I'm,
Yeah.
okay.
I think I have a better, if I may, Madam Chair, a better understanding now that we don't have to even worry about it until we are close to the 12-month period of time to where the switch is going to happen. I got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam
Now,
Chair.
my last question is on the liability policy. Is this errors and omission, Mark?
Yes. It's professional errors and omissions and commonly referred to as E&O.
Would you share that person? I'm looking for it.
Okay,
Only
so
question.
if there's no more questions, let's call for the question.
Adams,
Went 1 through 4?
Only 1 through 4 right now.
Yes, with the exception of 4 o'clock
yes.
on the second Thursday. Okay.
Kennard,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes,
Warren,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so now we have the bottom 3. Enforce removal of board members for neglect of duty as defined in bylaws. Discontinue the hard copy delivery of agendas. And then number 3, commit to filling any board vacancies with a member from planning or downtown development authority.
Madam Chair, I make
I'm
a
not
motion
making
to
number 3.
support 1 through 3.
Do we have a second?
What is it, enforce removal of board members? Why would we need to do that? We already have something in place.
She said not using, enforce it.
Three meetings missed, period. You send that letter and that's it.
I think that's what she said.
So right now, it's not being enforced.
Right.
So it's saying, we already have it in our bylaws. It's just essentially enforcing our bylaws.
I get so tired of politics, I don't know what to do.
I got it.
That's why I'm a servant. Big difference. I will support number 1 and number 2.
Mr. Clark has a question.
So with that removal, by missing 3 meetings, what if the person working right now?
So you're saying if it's excused, basically?
How would
That
that
stays the same, I think.
The bylaws speak to unexcused absences as being neglect of duty.
Right.
So if you call and say that you can't make it, that's not a neglect
Not
of duty. We have had many occasions where members have not called or contacted us. We assume that they're going to be here, and unfortunately, perhaps their absence prevents us from having a quorum.
And then my last question, this woman going back to nature, or what we talking about, enforcing that now?
Next month.
Oh,
Did we ever get a second, Sheriff?
Nope.
No.
Okay, well, I'll move that we, pass on 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Okay.
Support.
Commissioner Adams.
So,
1 and 2 is all.
So I have to rescind my motion because our motion was for 1, 2, and 3.
I will, yes.
You didn't get a second, so. it died.
so new motion now from
Correct.
Mr. Gale.
What she just said.
who Who had any motion? Mr. Clark for one and two?
Mr. Clark,
Okay, and we need a second.
supported
I'll
by
support
Mr.
Okay.
Hudson.
Second by Mr. Hudson. Now, there can't be any more questions, can there?
All the time.
Is there any more questions? If not, we'll call for.
Hold on,
Yeah.
no, just kidding.
Okay, so let's call for the question.
Edwards,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes. One
Clark.
and two, right?
1 and 2.
Only.
Clark,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so the only thing that we are left with is number 3. Based on time, maybe we might have to revisit this one next month.
You know, I have some other things I'm expecting to see on
I
next.
mean, actually, to me, Madam Chair, the Downtown Development Authority, that's not much to talk about. I'm already on it. Now, if you want to add one from the Planning Commission, I would see that would be the only conversation we have.
Well, that's not
All they need to do is come to a meeting or watch the.
No, I'm not saying as far as conversation, that really would be the only part of the DDA. I'm already on the DDA. So that wouldn't even be part of the conversation.
Mr. Little?
Respectfully, the board doesn't make its own appointment.
Exactly.
The mayor does.
Exactly.
Right.
And all he do is give a recommendation.
It's a meeting.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
All right, all right. Okay, so next up, if we have time here, we can do our treasurer's report.
Madam Chair and members, your financial reports from Plant Moran are included in pages 7 through, I believe it's 9. Direct you to page 8, please. Page 8 indicates what you have in the bank. Getting to Commissioner Adams' question about the $1 million threshold, you're getting close. Current assets amount to $893,669 in the bank cash right now today. On page 9, you will see that you have your income statement for the year July 22 through March 23. You've had total income of a little over, just under $230,000. You've had total expenditures of $287,000. That leaves you a negative income or negative fund balance of $57,144 roughly. And the reason that is a negative number for your recollections is that you chose to release during this fiscal year $123,000 that you had held in reserve for the Market Street Flats area portion of your Brownfield plan. Had you not released those funds, this number would have been, your fund balance would have been a positive number. Happy to answer any questions on
To accept.
financial statements.
1 second. Oh, sorry.
Support. Oh,
Support.
go, okay.
I wasn't clear on a fact here. This is a count, here on the first page here, Plant Moran. Could you give me a clear understanding, read this through to me so that I can understand the statement that is made here?
The accountants, this statement here?
Yeah,
Okay, on page 7, you're referring.
yeah,
The accounting firms, as I understand it, have an obligation to disclose to any reader of a financial statement where they got their information from and what level of accounting they actually undertook with respect to those numbers. And that is the intent of this particular letter. It says that they've got certain requirements that they have to meet, certain standards that they have to uphold, and that they do that. It acknowledges that they're obligated to do that, and they have done that by their signature below. They have signed off on that. But it also is very, very pointed in that it says that they were provided these numbers. These are numbers that come from, for example, the bank statements that they received. They didn't go into the bank and they didn't do an audit of the bank's internal operations. They relied upon those statements from the bank, for example. in generating these types of numbers. So I hope that's a very summarical type of response for what this letter is.
I'm always kind of a little bit, nervous about things that I think that, the way we got business set up, Plant Moran takes care of a whole lot of things when we should have a financial person here over the city's finance. But again, we rely totally on this here, when the person was there available to give information so they could be on point. And we end up without finance director again and again.
So we'll let Mr. Little address that.
If I might, this is a pretty much standard type statement that's made even on all audits and so forth. And that's because no auditor ever audits all of the entire books. They do sample testing of payables, receivables, and so forth to verify the process and that those were accurate. And the presumption is if those are, and if they randomly, the rest will be too. But they themselves protect themselves, and it's like it says throughout the nation, it's not just here. That's the kind of statement they put on.
Actually, what they're telling you is we are summarizing and giving and add a total amount to the data that we receive. There's no qualified or unqualified audit. They have not tested any accounts or what have you. All they're doing is addition. That's what that is saying. Nothing more.
Ms. Kennard, do you have any other questions?
No,
Remember, they can perform audits separately. There's no auditing included here. That's what they're letting you know. We have simply added up the numbers that we received. We haven't tested any ledgers or any journals to say that the numbers even there are correct. We are just doing the addition.
that's the point that I was.
That's what they're saying.
Since there's a disclaimer on.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong.
Because the point that bothers me, they only gather information that is just given to them.
Exactly,
They don't do any kind of
exactly.
investigation to see if the numbers are right or whatever.
And
That's what a
auditing.
financial manager would have done, assured that the numbers are right.
No, sir. It says there, we did not audit or review. That's because they're not the auditors. They're not the auditors for the city. There's another firm that does the audit. They're simply, as he said, it gives them what they pull together of the records.
And there's nothing wrong with letting Ms. Santana do that too, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Let's do one
Now, that's where I'm
That's your
going.
person.
That's where I'm going.
Was
She should be the one.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Hudson, was supported by Ms. Adams,
What was it?
to approve the financial statements.
Pay the bills.
Oh, yeah,
Approve the financial statements.
yes.
Question?
Call for the question? Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Kennard.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Madam Chair and members, you also have on page 10 a payables listing for this month. You have two bills to pay, one for March advisory services and one for March financial services. Total of both bills, $4,441.04.
Support.
Call for the question?
Well, I see the law reports, but I don't see any specificity to it. I think it says 31 hours, but where it was 8 hours, where it was 2, where it was 3, where it was 4, that's what I guess organization.
I'm sorry, you're asking, so he has on here, you're asking for a breakdown per hour, per
Yeah,
hour?
that's what a law does. It doesn't just say, I did this, but it usually indicates what
It
portion
usually
of the
does.
31 hours.
On our agenda?
Yes, it does. Look at your old paperwork.
Sometimes I've seen it, sometimes not. And I just started out as procedure because I'm going to vote to approve the bills, but let me put that in there.
Yeah.
Mr. Florian, would you be able to give an approximation
Well, we're gonna vote to approve.
Yeah.
What I would be happy to do is include such a breakdown on all future invoices. This is consistent with the format we've used for the past couple of years, but I'd be happy to do so.
And within the, when we reach that 12-month mark, that's exactly what we're going to be expecting to see when we do accounts payable.
Special treatment.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for the special treatment.
No issue,
That's
no
called
worries.
accountability and
We'll include it.
transparency.
Okay.
All
Are
right.
we okay with that?
All following the
Go,
money.
go forward, he'll do a breakdown. Okay, so if we,
That was a motion by Adams. It was seconded by Mr. Edwards.
so we'll call for the question.
Kennard,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Adams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So next up, old business.
Madam Chair and members, we had no old business to conduct other than I require a signature, Madam Chair, on a document that was approved last month. And we also have no new business to contend with this evening.
Are there any further member comments?
Your questions. Because I actually sent an email and requested something to be on our next agenda, and it was regarding the home at 536 Colfax. Can we put that in the Brownfield? And these are just questions that Mark should be able to answer through the chair. 536 Colfax, and did we put together, or have we thought about putting together some type of document for small loans, small interest loans? And is there an update on the dialysis piece of property? And is there any Brownfield properties that are mitigated properties? That was 4, wasn't it? Sorry. We only meet once a month.
Could I request that since you do have another group that have the room reserved out in the hall, that we cover these next time?
I'm sorry,
Since you have another group that has a room reserved, could we provide? you-
I'd like an answer. I've been waiting for some of these for quite some time.
I cannot speak to the dialysis or the mitigation
okay.
because this
Okay,
board was not a
okay,
party to that.
Okay.
536 Colfax,
Mhm.
when you contacted me, forgive me, I thought you were asking for it to be placed on next month's agenda, which I'm fully prepared to do.
Okay.
I don't have anything for you at this time.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine.
Okay, so we'll put those, the items pertaining to Brownfield.
Yeah.
On next
That
month's
small business loan thing,
agenda.
Business loan.
I mean, not business loan. Well, it's up to whoever.
And perhaps you and I can dialogue separately on that because I'm not certain
Yeah.
what you might be speaking of.
Okay, okay.
Business
So
loan,
we,
we're not a bank.
so.
Move to adjourn.
Yep, second.
Second.
All right.
Ah.
I'll call the question if we need to. If not,
Mark, you want these back?
Yes, ma'am, I would like those back. Thank you.
So they're gonna still keep talking.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
We got
bottom.
the same phone.
I'm looking at the bottom.
You been on, Mr. Hudson?
I'm looking at the bottom.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Was that? Yeah, for part of the time, you know, I've been back here, back in the States.
You guys didn't have two signatures.
That's one of the things that keep me going.
Uh-oh.
Especially when I go places and I see people so much less than we have and they're struggling, people sitting around here doing nothing.
I just turned my
I can't, man, I just got to the point where I was looking for you.
Don't worry,
I heard you were in the building.
Oh,
I needed you.
mind.
all the way.
Yeah.